All right, so this time we're diving into something pretty fascinating, the story of Black History Month.
Yeah, most people don't realize it actually started as just a week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's celebrated in countries beyond the U.S. too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
So we're going to unpack all of that, plus some of the debates surrounding Black History Month. And get this, the article has a whole list of yearly themes going back to 1928.
Wow.
We're talking about a lot of history here.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that's interesting right off the bat is how intertwined Black History Month is with Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass.
Oh, how so?
Well, their birthdays both fall in February.
Right. It's like those dates were almost destined to be significant in some way.
Exactly. And, Lincoln's the Emancipation Proclamation guy. And Douglass was this powerful voice for abolition and equality.
Yeah, they both meant a huge deal to the Black community back then.
Absolutely. And their birthdays were already being commemorated, especially by Black communities. There are even records of schools in D.C. back in 1897 dedicating time to teaching about Douglass.
Oh, wow. So how do we get from separate birthday celebrations to an official Negro History Week?
Well, that's where Carter G. Woodson comes in.
Okay.
He was a historian, and he attended this massive event in 1915 called the Lincoln Jubilee.
The Lincoln Jubilee.
Yeah, it was celebrating 50 years since emancipation.
Wow.
It wasn't just some small gathering either. We're talking thousands of people in Chicago over an entire summer showcasing Black heritage and culture.
Okay. That had to have been an impactful experience.
Yeah.
It's like a turning point in history.
Yeah, it really seems to have been. Think about it. This was just over 50 years after the Civil War. Many former slaves were still alive sharing their stories.
Oh.
This jubilee, it wasn't just a celebration, it was a living testament to Black resilience and a powerful call for recognition.
And for Woodson?
And for Woodson, it was a catalyst. That same year, he co-founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History,
Which is
known today as ASAH.
Okay, so did he immediately jump into creating Negro History Week?
Not quite. It took about another decade.
Okay.
But in 1926, they launched Negro History Week, and they chose the second week of February
Okay.
to intentionally encompass both Lincoln and Douglass's birthdays.
That's clever. Using existing commemorations to bring even more attention to Black history.
Yeah, it was a strategic move. But I read that the initial response to Negro History Week wasn't exactly overwhelming.
Really?
Unfortunately, no. Only a handful of states and some cities officially recognized it.
But that didn't deter Woodson.
No, not at all. He believes so deeply in the power of history.
He did.
He even said something like, if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition, and it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world.
Wow, it's powerful.
It is. And he even drew a parallel to the American Indian experience, arguing that a lack of understanding of their own history contributed to their struggles.
So he saw a direct link between knowing your history and a community's ability to survive and thrive.
Exactly. That's why he pushed for organized, dedicated study of Black history. It wasn't just about remembering the past, it was about empowering the future.
And this brings us to a pretty amazing turn of events. The leap from a week to a whole month.
Right. And it all started on a college campus.
Oh, wow.
In 1969, Black educators and the Black United Students at Kent State University proposed expanding the celebration.
Interesting.
They actually held the first Black History Month the following year. And it wasn't even limited to February. They celebrated from January 2nd all the way to February 28th.
It's amazing how something that started on a single campus could become a nationwide and even global phenomenon.
Yeah, it really is. It's a testament to the power of grassroots movements and the growing desire to recognize the contributions of Black Americans.
And it didn't stop there.
Nope. Fast forward to 1976, the bicentennial of the United States.
Okay.
A time of national reflection, President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month.
He did.
And he urged the nation to honor the often overlooked achievements of Black Americans.
Ford's endorsement gave Black History Month even more legitimacy, didn't it?
Absolutely. His official recognition pushed the celebration further into the mainstream, encouraged wider participation and engagement from all sectors of society.
Yep.
It was a crucial turning point, moving Black History Month from the margins to a place of national prominence.
And it's incredible how Black History Month has spread beyond the U.S. borders. It's like a global wave of recognition.
It really is. It's fascinating to see how it's taken root in other countries, each with its own unique context. Canada, for instance, also celebrates in February, just like the U.S.
Right, but then you have Europe where they celebrate Black History Month in October. What's the reasoning behind that?
Interesting, isn't it? The choice of October in the UK and Ireland, it partly stems from a desire to align with the academic calendar.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it easier to incorporate Black History Month into school curriculums.
That makes sense. But I also read that Cork, Ireland has a particularly strong connection to Black History Month.
Oh, yeah.
Could you tell us more about that?
Cork. It's a city steeped in history, and its ties to the abolitionist movement are quite significant.
Really?
Yeah. Back in the 19th century, Cork was a hub for anti-slavery activism. In fact, Frederick Douglass himself, he actually lectured there during his visits to Ireland,
Wow.
drawing huge crowds and galvanizing support for the cause.
Wow. So the city where Douglass once spoke out against slavery is now a key location for celebrating Black History Month.
Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful connection.
Yeah, it really highlights how these historical threads weave together across time and continents. And even more recently, in 2020, Black History Month celebrations began in several African countries too, adding another layer to this evolving global story.
It's remarkable to see how this celebration, born from the struggles and triumphs of Black Americans, is resonating with people around the world.
Yeah.
It speaks to the shared desire to acknowledge and honor the contributions of the African diaspora.
It does. It underscores that Black history is not confined to one nation or continent, but is woven into the tapestry of human history on a global scale.
So, bringing it back to the U.S., what kind of impact has Black History Month had here? I imagine it's been pretty significant.
The impact has been profound, without a doubt. From the outset, there was a surge of enthusiasm within the Black community.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with the formation of Black history clubs and a growing interest among educators to incorporate it into their teaching.
And ACLH, the organization that Carter G. Woodson founded, they still play a central role, right?
Absolutely. Every year, they select a theme to focus the celebration. For example, in 2022, the theme was Black Health and Wellness.
Interesting.
It highlighted the achievements of Black medical professionals while also bringing attention to health disparities and challenges faced by Black communities.
That's great that they use the month to address these pressing issues that might otherwise be overlooked.
Yeah, and it's not just confined to communities and schools. Black History Month has also made its mark on cultural institutions and the U.S. business community.
It seems like every February you see companies doing special initiatives or campaigns tied to Black History Month.
Exactly. Take Instagram, for example. Back in 2018, they launched a whole program for Black History Month,
Really?
partnering with organizations like Spotify and creating initiatives to promote Black creators and businesses.
That's a really positive sign. It shows that awareness is spreading and there's a growing recognition of the importance of Black representation and inclusion.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. However, as with any movement, there are complexities and debates surrounding Black History Month.
Right, it's not without its critics. Some people argue that confining Black history to a single month can actually be detrimental.
Yeah, that's a key point of contention. The concern is that by relegating Black history to February, it creates a sense that it's separate from American history as a whole.
Right.
Almost like an optional add-on rather than an integral part of the narrative.
It's like saying, okay, we've covered Black history for the month. Now let's move on to other things.
Precisely. And that goes against the very essence of what Black History Month aims to achieve. A deeper, more sustained engagement with Black history throughout the year. The goal is to weave it into the fabric of our understanding of history, not to treat it as a separate entity.
Another criticism I've heard is that focusing on specific figures during Black History Month can sometimes lead to a kind of hero worship and glossing over the complexities of their lives and struggles.
That's a valid point. It's important to remember that these historical figures were real people, not just icons. They faced challenges, made mistakes, and had flaws just like everyone else.
Right.
We need to delve into the nuances of their stories, understanding them in their full humanity, not just as simplified symbols of achievement.
Morgan Freeman, for example, has been very vocal about his criticism of Black History Month.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
His perspective resonates with many who feel that Black history is inherently American history and should be treated as such, not relegated to a designated month.
His quote on the topic is pretty powerful. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
It's a statement that challenges us to rethink how we approach and teach history in a way that's truly inclusive and representative of all Americans. It raises the question, how do we move beyond symbolic gestures and integrate Black history into the mainstream narrative in a more meaningful and lasting way?
It's a big question and one that doesn't have an easy answer. But as we look ahead, there are some recent developments that raise even more questions about the direction of Black History Month, especially here in the U.S.
You're referring to the potential ban on the U.S. State Department celebrating Black History Month starting in 2025.
Yeah.
It's certainly sparked a lot of debate.
It's a controversial move that reflects the ongoing political and social tensions surrounding how we acknowledge and teach history, particularly when it comes to race and social justice.
Yeah, it really makes you think about the line between celebrating history and maybe, politicizing it. Where does that line even exist? It's a complex issue, that's for sure. I mean, this situation with the State Department, it really brings up questions about the role of government in commemorating cultural events. Like, should they actively endorse specific celebrations or, should they try to maintain a neutral stance?
Yeah, it's like a balancing act between recognizing important cultural moments, but also, avoiding the perception of favoring one group over another.
Yeah.
But even with these challenges, it's encouraging to see Black History Month continuing to adapt and evolve.
Absolutely. Take a look at some of the recent themes that ASL has chosen. For example, in 2019, it was Black migrations, shedding light on the movement of Black populations within and beyond the U.S. Then in 2020, they focused on African Americans and the vote, highlighting the ongoing struggle for voting rights.
And just last year, 2023, it was Black resistance, showcasing all the ways.
They really do. And that's what's so compelling about Black history. It's not a static thing. It's an ongoing narrative of resilience, creativity, and the pursuit of justice.
Yeah.
A story that continues to unfold.
It's a reminder that Black history isn't just a chapter in a textbook. It's a living, breathing part of who we are as a nation and as a global community.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to engage with it, not just during February, but throughout the entire year.
We've only scratched the surface here today, but I hope this has inspired you to dive deeper into this rich and multifaceted history. If you're interested in learning more, I highly recommend checking out the full list of yearly themes on the ASALH website.
Oh, yeah.
It's fascinating to see the sheer range of topics covered, everything from Black health and wellness to the arts and so much more.
Yeah, each theme offers a unique entry point into this vast and complex world of Black history. And maybe that's the true power of Black History Month, its ability to spark ongoing conversations and a deeper understanding of the Black experience in all its dimensions.
It's a reminder that Black history is American history. It's world history, and ultimately, it's human history.
Well said.
It's a story that deserves to be told, heard, and celebrated not just for a month, but for generations to come.
So as you continue your own explorations into Black history, keep asking questions, challenge assumptions, and seek out diverse perspectives.
Yeah.
The more we learn, the more we realize how much more there is to discover.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into Black History Month. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, happy diving.